People think scams only happen to the careless, the uneducated, the lonely in obvious ways. They're wrong. I was careful. I was educated. I had lived a full life. And still, I almost lost everything. Not just my savings, not just my home. I almost lost myself. If you're dating later in life, after divorce, after loss, after decades of giving, this story is for you. Not to scare you, but to protect you. Because love shouldn't cost you your dignity, your peace, or your future. My name is Margaret Lewis. I'm 65 years old now. I live quietly. I drink my coffee slowly. I sleep without fear. But it took me a long time to get here. I was married in my 20s. He was my first real love, my best friend. We never had children. Life moved fast. Work, responsibility, routine. And then, in my early 30s, I became a widow. No warning, no preparation, just absence. People assume the hardest part of losing someone is the funeral. It's not. It's the decades afterward. The silence, the empty side of the bed, the future that quietly disappears. For years, I didn't date. I survived, I worked, I stayed functional. But in my early 50s, something changed. I didn't want passion. I didn't want drama. I didn't meet him in a dark alley or through something that looked reckless. There were no red flags waving in the wind, no dramatic warning signs, no voice in my head screaming, "Run!" I met him the way many people my age do now, online. It felt modern, safe, normal. His name was Daniel. At least, that's who he said he was. His profile picture showed a man with kind eyes, silver at his temples, a slight smile that didn't look forced. He didn't message me with compliments about my body. He asked about my day. That was the first hook. Not flattery, attention. He asked about my late husband. And when I told him stories about the way he used to hum, about the garden we planted together, about how grief doesn't end, it just softens. Daniel didn't interrupt. He didn't compete. He listened. And then, a week later, he referenced something small I had said. A detail. Most people don't remember details unless they care, or unless they are studying you. At the time, I chose the first explanation. He told me he was widowed too, that he understood the strange loneliness that exists even in a crowded room. He said something that stayed with me. Losing someone doesn't just break your heart, it rearranges your future. That sentence felt real. It felt lived. And I believed him. Weeks turned into months. Good morning messages, good night calls. He would ask what I ate, remind me to drink water, tell me he admired my resilience. No one had used that word for me in years. Resilient. It made me feel strong, seen, valued. He never rushed to visit. He never pressured intimacy. But what I experienced wasn't pressure. It was patience, calculated patience. He built normalcy, and normalcy builds trust faster than intensity ever could. The first shift was subtle. He told me he had secured a contract overseas, a big one that would allow him to retire comfortably. He didn't ask me for money, he vented, and I comforted him. That's the second hook. Scammers don't start by asking for money. One evening, his voice sounded tight, frustrated. He said his account had been temporarily frozen because of international verification issues. He didn't say, "Can you send me money?" He said, "I hate asking this. I don't want you to think I'm irresponsible." I offered. That's how it happened. Not manipulation by force, manipulation by invitation. The first transfer wasn't huge, enough to cover fees. He promised repayment within days. He sent screenshots, documents, reassurance. That feeling, that illusion of partnership, it's addictive. Because when you've been alone for decades, shared struggle feels like closeness. He paid back a small portion once, just enough to make it feel legitimate. That's when trust locked in. After that, the requests became slightly larger, still reasonable, still temporary, still wrapped in apology. And each time I told myself, This is what partners do. I wasn't being reckless. I was being loyal. That distinction matters. Savings first, then a certificate I had set aside, then an investment account I told myself I wasn't using anyway. He began using language like our house, our retirement, our life, and I let those words in. Because when you've been widowed young, you never fully unpack the dreams you lost. You just store them somewhere quiet, and when someone offers them back to you, you don't question too hard. You want to believe. The emotional pressure was never loud. It was soft. If this deal collapses, everything I worked for disappears. Notice that. He tied his success, his stability, his worth to my action. Not directly, but carefully. And one afternoon, sitting at my kitchen table, I opened my real estate documents. I stared at the deed to my house, the house where we painted walls ourselves, where we argued about curtain colors, where grief lived quietly in the hallway. I calculated how much I could get if I sold. That was the moment something inside me trembled, because I realized I was about to trade a real past for a promised future. And that future only existed through a screen. But even then, I didn't think I'm being scammed. I thought I'm being supportive. That is how it happens. Not through greed, not through stupidity, through hope. And hope, when mixed with loneliness, can blur even the sharpest judgment. When the truth came out, it wasn't dramatic. There was no confrontation, no confession, no final cruel message, just silence, an unanswered call, then another, then the profile picture disappeared, then the entire account gone. I remember staring at my phone longer than I should have, as if looking at it hard enough might make him reappear. But screens don't bring people back. They erase them. I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I had once laughed with my husband, the same table where I had wired money believing I was building a future. And in that moment, something settled over me. Not panic, not hysteria, just a slow, heavy realization. The person I trusted never existed. That sentence didn't hit all at once. It unfolded, like a fog lifting and revealing ruins underneath. The shame came before the grief. That surprised me. I wasn't crying because I lost money. I was sick because I felt foolish. How could I not see it? How could someone my age, with my experience with decades of surviving life, be deceived by a stranger? I replayed every message, every good morning, every "I can't wait to finally hold your hand." I dissected them like evidence in a courtroom. But hindsight is cruel. It gives clarity only after damage is done. I didn't tell anyone, not my friends, not my neighbors, because humiliation isolates faster than grief ever could. When my husband died, people brought casseroles. When I was scammed, I brought silence. I stopped answering invitations. I avoided conversations. I feared someone would ask, "How's that nice man you've been talking to?" And I wouldn't know how to answer. I questioned everything about myself, my intelligence, my judgment, my worth. I began to wonder if loneliness had made me desperate. There were nights I lay awake staring at the ceiling thinking, if this is what the rest of my life looks like, if this is what trying again brings, I don't know if I can carry it. That thought scared me more than the money I lost, because it wasn't about finances, it was about hope, and hope felt dangerous now. But here's something I want people to understand. The lowest point is rarely loud. It's quiet. It's washing dishes with a tight chest. It's sitting in your car longer than necessary. What saved me wasn't sudden strength. It wasn't a motivational quote. It was time. Time creates distance, and distance creates perspective. But the turning point came from one honest conversation. A friend of mine, Ruth, noticed something was off. She simply said, "You've been quieter lately." And I don't know why, but something inside me broke open. The words spilled out, messy, incomplete, embarrassed. I expected judgment. Instead, she said something simple. "You're not stupid. You were lonely." That sentence cracked the shame in half. Loneliness doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human. And predators don't target desperation. They target decency. They target people who are capable of love. That realization reframed everything. I wasn't foolish. I was trusting. And trust is not a flaw. It just requires boundaries. I reported what happened, even though part of me felt foolish doing so. I joined a small support group online. At first, I didn't speak. I just read other stories. Doctors, teachers, widows, all deceived the same way. Not by stupidity, by emotional engineering. Romance scams are psychological crimes. They study human longing. They learn how grief sounds. They mimic affection. They create shared struggle. They build dependency slowly. And when you're older, when your social circle has shrunk, when evenings stretch long, connection feels rare. And rare things feel precious. I rebuilt slowly, not financially at first, emotionally. I stopped trying to fill every silence. I sat in it, uncomfortable at first, then manageable, then peaceful. I began walking in the mornings again. Just me. No phone, no messages, just air and birds and footsteps. I rediscovered small pleasures. Coffee tastes the same whether someone texts you good morning or not. Sunsets don't require validation. I began journaling, writing letters I would never send, forgiving myself in ink. I made a rule: no major decisions when feeling lonely. Loneliness is a mood, not a strategy. I strengthened my friendships, real ones, the kind where you can look someone in the eye and see history, and something surprising happened. The ache of needing to be chosen softened, because I chose myself. That sounds simple. It isn't. Choosing yourself means not explaining away red flags. I learned to enjoy my own company again, to decorate my home without imagining someone else's opinion, to laugh alone without feeling foolish. Wholeness returned quietly. And here's the truth I didn't expect. The scam didn't destroy me. It refined me. It stripped away illusions. It forced me to examine what I believed about love. I no longer believe love rescues. I believe love complements. I no longer believe partnership cures loneliness. I believe self-respect prevents desperation. If love comes again, it will meet a woman who is not hungry, only open. There's a difference. And if you're watching this and you've experienced something similar, please hear me. Your dignity is not gone. Your intelligence is not erased. Your future is not ruined. You were human, and humans are wired for connection. The mistake wasn't wanting love. The mistake was trusting without verification, and that can be corrected. But shame must be released. Because silence protects predators, speaking protects people. And the moment I spoke, I began to live again. Here's what I know now. And I wish I had known it earlier, not because it would have made me suspicious of love, but because it would have made me protective of myself. When you start dating later in life, you're not naive. You've lived, you've lost, you've learned. But sometimes what you're craving isn't excitement. It's companionship, safety, being seen again. And that desire is beautiful. It just needs boundaries. So let me tell you what I've learned. Slowly, clearly, honestly. 1. Real love does not create urgency. Urgency feels flattering. Someone says, "I've never connected like this before." We're not getting younger. I know you're the one. And part of you thinks, well, at our age, why waste time? But urgency is often a tactic, because when things move quickly, you don't evaluate deeply. Healthy love unfolds naturally. It doesn't pressure you into quick financial decisions, immediate exclusivity, or rushed commitments. 2. Genuine people show up, not just emotionally, but physically. In today's world, it's easy to feel close to someone you've never met. Long phone calls, video chats, daily messages. It feels intimate. But if months pass and someone cannot arrange a real, in-person meeting, that's not romance delayed. That's distance maintained on purpose. Excuses that never end are answers. There will always be a work crisis, a contract overseas, or a travel delay. But effort leaves evidence. Love that never materializes is a performance. 3, love never asks you to hide it. This one is subtle. No one says, "Don't tell your friends." Instead, they say, "They wouldn't understand us." Secrecy removes accountability. When I was involved with the man who scammed me, I slowly stopped mentioning him. Not because he told me to hide him, but because I didn't want anyone questioning him. That should have been my sign. 4, complicated financial stories are rarely accidental. Healthy adults manage their own finances. Yes, emergencies happen. But repeated international complications, those are patterns. If someone you're dating makes you feel responsible for fixing their financial crisis, that's not partnership. You are being positioned as a resource. And that is not love. 5, trust grows slowly. Manipulation grows fast. Trust is built through consistency and transparency. Manipulation creates emotional acceleration, fast bonding, quick declarations. 6, watch reactions. When you set boundaries, say no, delay something, see what happens. Healthy people respect boundaries. Manipulators react. They may guilt you or withdraw affection. 7, loneliness is not a character flaw. Loneliness can make attention feel like oxygen, but ask yourself gently, am I choosing this person or am I choosing relief? 8, your worth is not up for negotiation. Being wanted does not increase your value. You are already valuable. Love should complement your life. It should not define your identity. Real love feels steady, not anxious, not rushed. It shows up, it waits, it respects. If someone is real, they will still be there after you verify. Protecting yourself does not make you cold. It makes you wise. I built a life that doesn't collapse if someone leaves. I have routines, friendships, peace. Love will be a choice, not a rescue mission. If you're dating later in life, being alone is not the worst thing. Losing yourself is. Protect your time, your heart, and your future. The right person will never ask you to disappear to keep them. Thank you for listening. You are not behind. You are still here.